Hello everybody, Всем привет. Today we're going to work on the castle battles. You can see these images here. Uh, Basically I've done battle screens, I've done hero versus hero. I've not added this ballista or the keep or these background castle walls or these barriers or the flooring. You can actually see a little bit of the flooring here leaking out, which we'll get into in a second. You've got the enemy tent, the enemy creatures. This is the keep that fires arrows at the attacking army. You got a different version here of a different keep and some different creatures. These are the actual tiles inside the castle .icn. And then I didn't actually pull up, but we have the keep values here. Which this is like the tower that fires arrows again at the attacking army. There seems to be a little bug here with something. This maybe isn't decoded correctly, so I may have to look into why that is, that particular case. But you know, the keep 0 here, these look like normal arrows. I guess they're a little truncated there, but for the most part, it's decoding correctly. So there might be a tiny decoding bug in the keep functions here. The sorceress's keep projectiles look just fine, and the so does the barbarian's keep, the flaming arrows. That's kind of a nice touch. Anyway, so this is the main hex tile. It's going to cover the flooring. These two tiles go over the tiles underneath these tower elements, as I'm calling these tower elements. This is the damage tower element, and this is the wall piece between them. And this gets covered up by the next tower element. So when this sprite gets removed, then it reveals this damaged wall piece that that a creature or a unit can walk through. These, I don't think these are actually used, 0, 0, and 0, 1. I'm really not sure why they're there. 0, 2, and 0, 3, these are the sort of half hex tiles that pad this side, where the enemy creatures can't actually walk, but they just pad this to make it a nice full flooring solution for the parade ground inside the castle walls. We also have the elements here of the catapult. You'll see the first 0 through 6 are the catapult frames, and then you have the actual catapult launch, and there's even a little shadow underneath it. This is the shadow here, and you'll see in 007 this comes off the ground, so 16 is the frame for 007. That's the animation shadow for when the catapult launches and flies off the ground. There's also something I forgot here, which is I think it's boulder. So this is the projectile here of the catapult. I initially thought maybe it was the same projectile as the troll throws, but it's not. It's this one. It's boulder. So anyway, I gave it this prompt. I'm rebuilding. I want to do the castle battle when another hero attacks a hero standing in the castle. It's like a pickup tile if it's an opposing castle. There's no hero present. We fight the garrison. And then I explain the catapult is this set here of different images. 16 is the shadow frame for frame 7. 15 is the normal shadow for everything else. After frame 6, the game should draw a boulder as a projectile that will fly in an arc and hit the wall and cause damage and make a sound. Catapult will fire once per turn unless the artifact, the Ballista of Quickness, is in the hero's inventory. We can just quickly go look at artifacts here. Let's look at the full size pictures. So it's this one. This is the ballista of quickness, which, you know, it's a crossbow versus a catapult, but anyway, it's magic, and it lets you fire another projectile. The tile maps and the castle wall images are in Castle 00 through Castle 03, one per faction. And it takes up the rightmost 3 tiles of the battle. So this castle flooring is the rightmost 3 tiles. And then I think I explained the position of the catapult. And 007 is this background wall tile. So this here is the background wall tile that then is displayed up here, and it's actually tiled. So it goes here, and then it's covered up by a second version of that tile. And then the remaining like rough edge is covered up by this tower. So when that tower is destroyed, it reveals this rough edge that looks like a damaged wall. Let's see, so I explain it with the standard XY offset. The castle tower barriers are this 8-9, 8-9 mirrored. So I'm basically explaining how this is manufactured from the combination of 8 and 9 here. So it's this, then this, then this, then this is mirrored, and then this again, and that. So just that was me verbally explaining that in text. And then if they're damaged, then the damaged tower replaces those other, the original 008 towers. Tiles 4 and 5 are overlaid when the wall is damaged and destroyed enough that a creature can walk through it. What are tiles 4 and 5? I don't know what I was saying there. That doesn't actually make sense, because I actually know that these are laid under. You can actually see a little bit of the, you can't really see it there. You can see it here. There's a few of these teal rocks kind of leaking out from under. So that's what I think what I was trying to say is that 5 and 6, tiles 5 and 6 are the elements that are laid out in that 4th column underneath these tower pieces. The animation sounds, we have cat sound 82 and 00 and cat sound 80 or cat sound 2, and we can probably just listen to those quickly. Let me see what we can get it here. So there's one, that's the launch sound, and then there's the hit sound. So so that's what we're looking at there, or not looking at, we're actually listening to that. And the projectile, I showed you boulder ICN has 3 frames. They rotate every few frames. The path of the stone is not a straight line. It should arc like a parabola, go up in the air, and then come down and collide with the wall in column 4. Play the sound, cat sound 02, when the projectile boulder collides with the wall, and then display the damaged wall 008 to 0010 after being damaged. The ballista will attack the wall once per turn at the beginning of a player's turn, just before the player is given control of the first fastest creature on its side, and it will do 1 to 2 points of damage on the tower part of the wall. The wall elements can withstand 1 to 2 hits of the ballista. The first hit 008 to 0010 after being damaged, and the second hit 0010 goes to nothing, so it basically removes that. If hit does 2 points of damage with some probability, then it is possible the wall sprite can go from 008 to nothing. There's also a keep, so that was this watchtower piece that I had here. Pull that up again. So this is this tower that sits in the upper right corner, and that will shoot. And I don't think I even specified how much damage it does, but and it just fires at a random creature, at least initially. We'll make it make smarter decisions and shoot the ranged attackers with the flyers. We'll give it some smarter logic a little later. But for right now, the main sprite is 0, 0 in each one, and then 1, 2, and 3 are each a projectile that goes across, down, left, and down. And this doesn't mirror because the creatures are always either below or to the down and left direction or across. So there's no need to mirror these like we had to do for ranged attacks. Creatures are not able to walk through wall pieces. They have to wait for an opening in the wall, but ranged units can shoot through the wall, and flying creatures can fly to open hex tiles that are on either side of the wall. So maybe a good time to block units from being able to walk on or through objects that are on the battlefield. We're currently not blocking tiles that have object sprites on them. Those are supposed to be random barriers that hinder creatures on both sides from moving directly across, and it sort of adds a strategic element to the battle. Creatures can fly over them but not land on them. I mean, they could provide an advantage to either side if you use them intelligently. Ranged units can shoot through them. The castle walls are a column of objects on column 4. Columns 5 to 6 are castle floor tiles, and tile columns 0 to 3 are regular terrain tiles, whatever the terrain is that the castle entrance is on. So we're going to load up the keep, the castle, the catapult, the boulder, and the 2 sound effects for the catapult. And we're going to put those into battle resources and battle logic. I think I specified up here that that we do the ranged attack sounds of the archer for the knight, the druid for the sorceress, the orc for the barbarian, and the centaur for the warlock. I don't know if that's the case, but I just kind of took a guess that that's what we use when we play those attack shots. And then and then I included the spec so it can see the offsets and image sizes approximately. Layout's the same for each file. And now that I look at it, it may not be exactly the same, but it's close, and we can go in and tune it a little bit later per faction if needed. And so first, this is like a pretty significant undertaking. So I'm telling the AI to give me an implementation plan. And then once we have enough info, we'll go ahead and do it. So comes up with some ways to do this: catapult animation, catapult boulder, keep shooting. The keep damage model, so it gives 10 to 20 damage because the spec doesn't name a value. I told it they basically have 2 hit points. Yeah, anyway, this is actually my bad because I should have specified something. So I don't actually know what it does. This is vibe coding, filling in the blanks, filling in the dinosaur DNA in Jurassic Park with amphibian DNA. And sometimes you get unintended effects. So there's a little bit of that going on here. The connector piece positions, I think it's interpreting that correctly. And so these are the main questions. And the castle battle trigger in game main, it's just doing something default for that. So I told it the answer in the images. The wall visually spans the full screen height except for a bit of sky at the top. The keep damage model, the spec should do a more primitive model of keep damage, 1 to 2 hit points of damage per boulder. And each wall tower piece 008 has 2 hit points. When the wall tower piece is destroyed, the wall piece 009 next to it is also destroyed, and then the creatures are permitted to, that's an error, permitted to walk through that path of the tiles. And then I think that the castle battle trigger is correct. I think it's saying which tile type, 00A8, 00C1. And I think there's a 0C0, 0xC0 in hex also, but I said let's just start with those. We can add another tile later. So note the placement of the catapult on the left side of the battlefield behind the first tile of the first column of the 4th row of the battlefield. So I'm just reminding it because I think I forgot to point out that this is where the catapult goes on that. So comes up with some good clarifications. 0xc0 is just a stub. Wall model is now damage hit point based. Catapult positions now locked to this hex to screen 3-0. So there's 5 rows of the battlefield, but they're labeled 0 through 4. So the 4th row is actually 3. That's a common computer science thing called zero-based indexing. So it's a common cause of off by 1 errors in programming. But this looks correct that we're doing it at 3, which is the 4th row here. Trigger wiring, so it's just triggering the actual battle. We still have this battle plan, and then checking the castle state where we need to look up basically whether or not, like, the game has already done neutral town, which didn't have to draw castle walls. It was just like a battle on a regular dirt battlefield. But now it has to check, is this actually a town or not, or is this a town or a castle? And I also said, hey, let's add in C0 as a triggerable type as well, just like C1. But I'm saying, we should look this up from map HCPP because we have this thing here called town 32. So these are all the various tiles of the actual elements, and there's even the random town here for the map editor is even in town 32. And so I'm saying, well, why don't you figure it out based on which tile is which? So like this is the barbarian town entrance tile. This is the sorceress castle entrance tile. Like based on that, I'm saying let's look it up based on these tiles. And then it's saying actually castle state faction is the source of truth. We don't need to derive faction from the tile sprites. It's already set correctly during initial game state or initialized game state. Well, we'll actually see I realize this could maybe create a bug where if I build a castle, like in Claw, if I build the castle into I build the town into a castle, I could see that negatively affecting it in that maybe it doesn't get updated from the initialized game state. And then you attack that castle and it's actually like a town battle on a neutral dirt playing field. Anyway, we go through, it makes some updates to battle resources and loads in some new things like the catapult and the castle walls and the keep and the boulder. So that's what we're adding into battle resources. Then in battle screen, we're adding some new phases like processing the firing from the keep and from the catapult. Things like wall destruction. Then processing some of the what actually is initialized for a castle battle, what the turn queue, like when in the turn does the catapult file, when in the turn does the keep fire, checking for blocked hexes, applying wall damage, starting the catapult, starting the keep shot, and then drawing some things, namely the castle walls and floor tiles, things like that, and then applying castle capture when the battle's over, and then adding in 0xc0 as a real castle entrance. I think we had done like A8 and C1 before, but they were just stubbed out, and now we're adding C0 as another option. So then it goes through, it was a long process, so we had to click continue. This just gives us some more restatements of what it was doing. That usually happens when it continues. It picks up and rereads what it was doing. So now A8, C0, or C1 are all tiles on the entrance tile of a castle or a town that can trigger these battles. Let's see. So anyway, gave me all these different files, a lot of battle files, as you would expect, and one event and battle trigger as well. So pretty much everything in battle changed. including battle screen. So literally this is all of my battle files were updated. And I originally just had battle screen and battle resources. And then I broke them in. Actually, it's not all the battle spells because I don't have battle spells. Battle spells was not affected here. Was not modified in the production of this this code. And then can you make the changes to game main CPP? Because actually I think here in event, it like gives me this set of comments somewhere. Actually, no, it wasn't an event. Maybe it was in battle trigger. One of these gave me like a list of changes to make in battle screen. No. Well, I thought somewhere in here there was a list of changes to make to game main. And I said, no, can you just do this for me? And okay, it did. Then we got a few compiler errors. And there was, yeah, basically just some missing braces. Sometimes that happens. So I'm going to show you the first build here that was produced after this. My favorite map to test this with is Dragon Pass because we're very close to the other castles and I can just do my auto battle skip and let's just go fight this other Warlock. So we do see what he's got. We see his creatures. We are able to actually see who we're fighting against versus who we are. We're Croto versus Castor. But we're not seeing the castle walls built at all. There is an enemy tent here. That's cool. It basically treated it as like a hero versus hero battle. So, yeah, but in this case, it was on dirt, no castle walls. Castle was still controlled by the enemy after. When I defeat an enemy hero in their castle, the castle's assigned to my player at that point. This is similar to how a neutral town battle ends. Also, there was no battle result screen. The prestige experience should be awarded. So we need to look into the castle assignment at the end of the battle, the prestige experience. So you didn't really get to see that. Maybe I can try it once more. Dragon Pass. Quick run. Dragon Pass here. This time we're the knight. So if I do this and we just skip, we did actually get the end, but it didn't, you know, this didn't get assigned to us. So, you know, there's, well, that basically is in line with this. Although I think I initially did the battle and I couldn't remember if there was a battle result screen. I thought I said there wasn't, but there might have been. Anyway, so we need to fix that, and then I tested it again. Yeah, there was a battle result screen. However, the castle was not assigned to the red player after victory, and the tile where the hero was defeated did not get the castle entrance tile redrawn. See, this becomes just a blank dirt tile suddenly. So it was reduced to an empty dirt tile. That should be redrawn, and the castle should be won by the red player. The entrance should be redrawn and enterable by the red hero, as it is now owned by the red hero. So we did this, it searched around, found something, reply battle results, clears the castle tile. So it needs to exclude this from the hero versus hero branch. The same fix for the second hero versus hero detection. Reset the battle screen monster column equals -1 before the castle battles as a safety net. I don't remember what that is about. Move is castle battle is true before the inner open calls. And so anyway, it makes a bunch of changes, mostly to battle trigger, battle screen, and game main. Does all this, and let's actually go through and see what this next build is. Let's see what I called it. I just called it Castle Walls Buggy. That was the name I saved this build under. So let's go in here to Dragon Pass. What's fun about building this is you get to know each map as you have to like test them. You get to know the maps pretty well. And so you know, oh, if I want to test this, I should probably try it on this map. Like, okay, so this is my initial castle walls. It's using this, this should be a tile 4, I think, which is the full tiles, and maybe this is the full tile 4 here. this tile should actually be over here underneath these. It looks like the wall pieces are here, at least on these two. Maybe they're also there behind them, but I can't quite see it. It could be that it's there behind it, but it's just hidden and obscured. The tent is okay, but the tent is also being assigned at the same level as this tent. The tent should actually be down here, so we need to see if we can move that down. The keep is there. The catapult is like here, but it's behind the paladin. And let's just see what happens if we do. Okay, so we do have the full... Okay, the catapult did sort of launch, and it sort of destroyed something, and our dragon was able to attack 2 layers, but he's sort of taking... So we sort of got something here. We're missing this rear window, or this... Not rear window, the rear wall here also didn't get generated. And let's just see what happens if we finish the battle. Did this get assigned to us? Yes. So we did take the castle. It did show up in our locator here, so that's cool. So we made some improvements. But here I'm calling out that one of these tiles was placed there instead of this, and we need to be using these to fill in the back area. We're missing this, and this wall piece is not aligned. So that's basically all the stuff I have to try and correct. So talking about the missile castle wall, we need to tile a couple of those and overlap them a little bit. The rendering order of the walls in column 4 should, like, basically I'm calling out that some of this is missing between these little tower pieces. Current logic for damaging the towers looks good. And I'm explaining maybe that the front end of the catapult is at the end of tile 1, and it's rendered behind the creature that may be taking up that space. The base of the opponent hero tent should be lined up with approximately the top of the wheels on the catapult. That's approximately the correct Y offset. So I'm basically saying that this should be moved down to about this level. So we want to move the tent just down. See, the creature should not be able to walk through the wall or the objects, which they still probably were because the collision detection isn't really working that well. I'm explaining the underlying tiles in column 4 should be this. Let's see if we can go up here to castle. I can just show you again. So let's just look at the sorceress one. So basically these 5 and 6 should be the underlying hex tiles in column 4. So 5 in rows 1 and 3, and in 0, 2, and 4 it's 6. So this is kind of based on that the hex arrangement that kind of matches up that rough edge. When the wall's destroyed, then it shows that kind of damaged floor tile for the parade ground inside the castle. The underlying tiles, let's see, I hit that correctly. And so I basically just said, let's try and make an improvement. So it goes through, does a bunch of processing, gives us a shot. And let's see what the next build was. This one is, I call it Ballista Wild Shooter. So I think this might be the bug where the ballista doesn't stop shooting at the end. And that's kind of fun. Like we should get in and see that one. See what that looks like. Let's see, we got a knight. I'm gonna go up. Auto battle the dragons. I have to go another day here. And let's do knight versus knight. So also what I notice here is this shadow is not decoding correctly. So the shadow, this was what I would see when an ICN that's monochrome, when the monochrome sprites are decoded as color sprites, it tends to look like that. So I realized, okay, there's something I need to fix there. But let's just do some attacks here and see what happens. He's not supposed to be able to land on that, but he did. Tricking their phoenix into attacking the dragon. And I just lost my paladin. Just lost my dragon there. I don't know why my phoenix isn't able to move now. That's kind of interesting. Stuck inside the wall. I might lose this battle, but maybe we'll get to see the well, okay, well, I don't think we got to see the wild and crazy catapult there, where it shoots repeatedly after there's no more valid targets. So we can try once more and see if we get that. It was such a fun thing to observe in the game. I really do want to share that. All right, we got a. Let's see if we can get a slightly stronger army and have a better chance of fighting our evenly matched heroes. I have all the heroes actually start out with additional, like an additional dragon, an additional dragon and an additional paladin and an additional phoenix. Okay, send him up. Lost that guy. Well, there's my off-center bad morale for their dragon, so that's kind of good for me. All right, we got rid of him. All right, we won this one. So we still didn't get to see the off-center, but we do get to see the entry of the castle that we just took by force. So that's cool. You know, there's still some issues. I still can't seem to get the to get that going. But anyway, I'm gonna just skip there. So gave it a couple of tries. So I'm really trying to get the frame 7, this background tile. I'm really trying to get that built, and I want it rendered over it and sort of modded. And let me see what my next build says here. Castle walls buggy still. Let's see, Dragon Pass. Let's go fight some barbarians, I guess. Okay, so this is maybe a little better, but not that much different. The catapult is now at least placed correctly, but the shadow is still broken. And then this piece of the wall should be sticking out here when that gets damaged. So it's not ideal. land on there and attack some more. Oh, lost my Phoenix right away. Probably wasn't a smart move to move my dragon so close to their dragon. But he had bad morale, so that's okay, actually. Okay, let's see if this worked. No. We seem to lose always about that time when we don't get the next turn. And I didn't seem to have control over my dragon when he was on the on that tile. I lost control of my Phoenix as well when they were in this sort of immobile state. So that might be a bug I need to look into. Maybe. I'm not sure. It's kind of how this game testing goes, is you're like, that something feels off. I wonder what's going on there. So yeah, I didn't see too much improvement in the tile rendering here. So I'm trying to even specify it a little deeper here. So we've got the X offset of 200 pixels for the catapult. So we're moving the catapult back. Actually, I think that last build was after this because I did get the catapult moved back correctly. So when the ballista destroys the keep, there's nothing left to target, so let's simply stop firing. Somehow the ballista went on a loop and fired many times at nothing at the end of the battle. That's not correct. Just have it stop when it takes out the keep. It should not fire when there are no more targets left. So I can't reproduce that live for you, unfortunately, but it's there. It happened, I swear. And I had to tell the AI to try and fix that. And then I also want to update the rendering order because maybe that's what's causing this to not render. So I actually think that this was the build that I just demoed you, that last build. And again, I'm still trying to get this wall to show up. So I'm giving it some other render utils. Flying creatures cannot land on the wall. They can fly over it, but they cannot land on a wide tile. If they're wide creatures, they shouldn't be able to land either of their like space-consuming body parts on those tiles in the wall. The damage animation from the keep ranged attacks should be the same as the damage animation from the archer for the knight keep, so that's physical ICN. The druid, the sorcerer's keep, which is red fire. The barbarian keep, which is physical, and the warlock keep, which is also physical, I think. I may have to double check that and see what, because it might also be lightning. I could see it being lightning because if I look at the keep for the, that's a lightning bolt coming out of the warlock's keep. So maybe that should be electric fire, or maybe it should be electric damage, which I can show you what I'm talking about there as well while we're looking at here in the sprites. This is electric fire, where it starts off with some electricity and then turns into fire. So that's my best guess, but it could also be electric, which is this sort of electric cloud shock explosion that is usually that's caused by the unicorn or the sprite in the game. The shadow under the catapult is not decoding correctly, so let's decode those as monochrome, and that's why I included the ICN files here to make sure those are being specified correctly. And then the enemy tent on that last build, I didn't show it, but I can show it really fast here. The click box on the enemy tent has actually been moved down correctly to be at the same level as the wheels. Like the base of the tent is the same level as the wheels of the catapult. But here, so I can't, if I click up here, I don't get anything. I'm right clicking trying to get something on this tent. I don't see it. Down here, the click box is correct for the tent down here. So the click box was moved, but the tent is still up here. So I called that out. I don't remember how I found that bug, but I did. The loss came from the keep shooting a creature, and that ended the battle. So is there a check there that would check if the battle is over, if the keep ends the battle? So that was also another case that I discovered that ended things. The keep kill does have a path, but it goes through a death animation, blah, blah, blah. So it goes through a whole bunch of this, and I think it thinks that it correctly decoded the shadow frames. So let's see what this is. This says walls over tiled, landing bug remains, catapult shadow fixed. So let's see what we're getting here. We go into Dragon Pass. Do a quick test here. Auto battle out of that. Okay, so you see the walls are over tiled. There's 3 of them now. This needs to be kind of pulled back a little bit, and that would cause this to be the correct pattern here. We still are missing some of these other joining pieces here. They could still be behind that. The catapult shadow, though, is that's now there correctly, and when we saw it sort of pop up, it worked. Let's see if the damage from... Okay, that's my off-center bad morale things, which I also do fix later on. Okay, this isn't looking good for me. I'm just gonna auto victory here and make sure I take the castle, which I did. Okay, great. So it's starting to look better. You know, I'm happy that the catapult shadow is done. I didn't actually see the keep damage animation there, but I will have to look on the next build here. So now I'm starting to, so I noticed here, like, the rendering order is a little funny, that the dragon's tail is rendering over his head, the phoenix's tail is rendering over the paladin's head. You know, I'm definitely going to fix this tiling, and these are just off center because there's supposed to be a little bit of sky visible above these walls. So I'm starting to think more about the presentation. The tent was in the correct location, though. And so I go into my PowerPoint and I'm explaining, like, this is basically about what we need to be doing. This is the right sort of layout, and this is what we need to be seeing here, and we're not. And then when one of these towers gets destroyed, this wall remains. The other piece below it disappears. So I basically explain that to break this down, and then I'm explaining this is about 18 pixels of overlap here. So we're basically pulling this back to cover this about 18 pixels of that wall, and that's what gives it this larger wall effect. The tower elements are correctly placed, but the connecting wall elements are still not correctly placed. So I'm giving it some suggestions for mirroring and changing the Y offset. And then explaining that the connecting wall of 009 is destroyed below when a tower is destroyed. So when this piece is destroyed, this piece will also be destroyed. So that's essentially what happens here. This tower was destroyed, and so the wall piece that connects to the tower piece below it is also destroyed. So I explained that there. I didn't explain that very well correctly, or even correctly before. And then when the catapult hits the animation apex, frame 007, the toss of the stone, that's when the projectile should be rendered, because like the catapult's animating, and then like a second later the stone appears, and it needs to happen basically right away and from the right location. So I'm trying to improve the source of that catapult boulder animation. Let's see what the next one is. Castle walls better, faster catapult. So I think I went in and did some manual adjustments here, and let's see what it's starting to look like. Okay, so now, yeah, I did some manual adjustments of some of these pieces, but it's starting to come together. You know, this is looking a lot better. Again, the creatures are still able to attack through the walls, which is not ideal. Okay, I didn't quite see if the physical damage from the keep actually happened, so that might need a little more testing too. But I do like how the okay, that's interesting that I couldn't move my knight up there. Okay, we lost our dragon. Oh, that was bad. Okay, the keep damage did happen on the... It didn't happen on the paladins, but it did happen on the centaurs. So that's sort of good. I don't know. Anyway, it's a little funny. It's not perfect, but it's starting to take some shape. I think I had some other issue with keep alignment, some compiling issues, and then I wanted to make the updates here to speed up the catapult animation and also update the documentation here. So there's still a few little bugs, like being able to land on the wall is not correct. Sometimes the damage animation from the keep isn't showing up. I do think that the obstacles were being they were preventing the creatures from walking on them correctly. So I think that bug was fixed. And we still have a few more, but you know, we basically have a castle battle that you can run that's a simulacrum. My Latin is not very good. So we're able to simulate essentially the battle and have a win or a loss. And the hero either disappears and is eliminated, or you win and take the castle. So that's starting to take some shape here. I also want to just quickly cover the animation battle positioning, because we saw some examples of the good luck and morale animations. They happened way over the head of the creature. It wasn't correct. And so I'm speculating maybe it depends on which row the tile's on. Anyway, I just want the animation to happen where the center of the animation happens at the top of the sprite of the creature / unit, whatever it is. Same for luck and same for morale, both good morale and bad morale. So like the morale animations are, let's see, I think it's here, morale B. So it's like this is the animation that shows, and I basically want the center of this to be at the top of the unit's head or whatever. Maybe it should just be that this is on the bottom of the unit's head. I don't know, but I just want something that's better than what I have right now. So I also threw in some documentation and then saying just a slightly different way, slightly different wording for the Y offsets, and the animation should be centered in the X. So the creature sprite width over 2. So it goes through. Root cause was that it did this relative to the tile's top left corner, not the creature's ground anchor. And then it did some offset based on that, based on the internal anchor value. So it was just kind of random where that location was being assigned. And this is the build where we, well, I can show you a build here. I'm just going to spawn it a couple times until I get a knight, because they'll have better morale. So we got a knight. Let's go get a little bit of luck too. And then we'll go fight some peasants and see if we get some good luck here. So I'm just going to slowly move creatures forward to see if we can trigger some good morale situations. What I forgot to do here, which was actually kind of dumb, because we don't have all night creatures, so we just have neutral morale right now because we have multiple different factions. So we're actually not going to see the morale bonus. So that was actually kind of silly of me, but let me try again, see if we can get a knight. Nope, that's a barbarian. And if we also got an artifact that would boost morale, I would take that as well. Let's see what artifacts we get. We got a barbarian again, and there's an endless. Let's see, it wasn't the sack of gold, it was probably the bag of gold is what we saw. Okay, well we got a morale button here, so let's take that. That's going to give our sorceress better morale. But let's get rid of the dragon and this so that we have something that'll work, and let's go get some better luck too, and then we'll go fight some peasants. And just about done here to see these guys. Alright, so we've got great morale and good luck. Cannot move back. That's interesting. That might be a little bit of a bug. Oh, it's because he's got two. The Phoenix takes up 2 tiles. That's why. That's why. So I think morale gives me like a something like an 8% chance of a second attack. So I feel like I should get at least 1 statistically here, but we might not. Okay, we got luck. So the luck is actually kind of rendering in the correct location. I would like to see a morale. Okay, well, let's see if we can go over here and get something with these guys. Yeah, nothing. Well, anyway, I was able to show that the luck worked. I guess we'll try one more battle because we do have the luck and morale for it. But we can actually just refill our luck enhancement here at the fairy ring. We'll go fight some archers or something here. can't quite make it all the way there. We saw some of the electric damage. Again, we're seeing luck, so, you know, I'm pretty sure that if morale... There we go. We got the morale. So, ideally, I probably need to raise those slightly, but I need to check. I need to, like, play the game a little bit and kind of see if I can measure better what the pixel offset is over the head. But it's at least rendering over the head of the creatures, and I'm happy with that improvement because what was happening before was just not correct. And anyway, I update my documentation, and that's it.